Amsterdam Kitchen. Join us live on Saturday mornings
from 10 till 12
on Broadcast Amsterdam.
Or catch up later.
It's all online.
Hello, welcome to the Amsterdam Kitchen.
Good morning.
Season 3, Gilly.
Season 3, who'd have thought it?
Yeah.
You're listening to Amsterdam Kitchen. It's me, Gilly, and Kathy, and our special guest today is Kok-Hwa. So, shall we...
Kokkies Cooking.
Yes, you should say that.
Huge following, so you may already know of him.
Absolutely, yes. He's on every social media platform going, I think.
It's true, yes.
That must keep you busy, Cookie.
It does, actually, especially, I've got, some time, like, extra, I suppose. It does
currently
actually fill up some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. So the question that's burning on my lips, actually, first of all, and it's a bit unfair to you, Cookie, because I haven't mentioned it, but I was asking Kathy how the two of you know each other, and she wanted to keep it fresh for the radio.
Right, okay, so I do a bit of voiceover work, and of course Kok-Hwa is a professional actor, and we both got invited to do, I was out of my depth completely, because I really just do voiceovers and stuff, and it was a script reading for Mulan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was quite exciting, actually. It's always exciting for me as an actor to be involved in kind of like the conception of like a project, and it seemed really interesting. And if it ever happens, if it's not the Disney Mulan, just so you know, it's a Mulan is not just owned by Disney; it's an actual legend, a Chinese legend. So
exactly,
it's not something that's like the
Disney
copyright.
don't own it.
No, they don't own it. But no, that was exciting. So yeah, that's how Kathy and I know each other.
Okay,
yeah.
Very, very good. Your acting is one hat that you wear, but also cooking. So before we get really down into the cooking, can you just give us a little bit of a background about, because I know you also split your time between here and London, so how much is, and on a normal day when we're not talking about corona crisis, how much is cooking and how much is acting?
It depends, because usually when I'm on tour, I don't have all my utensils and stuff, so it's a bit harder to cook every day. And then I've got matinees, and like sometimes we do 10-hour days. So every now and again, a ready meal slips in, but I try not to. I try to cook at least six meals a week. So at least I have like one meal that is self-cooked. But yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. And are you cooking primarily just for yourself and then sharing it, or are you like more of a social cook?
No, because like when I'm on tour, it is really mainly as sustenance, but I like the sustenance to be nice.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's the way it started anyway. Kind of like I was on tour a lot in Holland, and then like every ready meal at the supermarkets, at a certain point you know them all, and you're kind of tired of them. Yeah. And so I started cooking. So, but yeah, it is the meal of the day for either me when I'm on tour myself, or the household when I'm here.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that was it. I was kind of imagining, because of the travelling that you do, and as you say, the nature of the work, the long days and things, I wondered whether the cooking was really a way to kind of ground yourself.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is the hobby that kind of like it relaxes me. Yeah. It does. Like when you're on tour, the focus is always on the job, because you don't have anything else around you, so it's always about the show or whatever you're doing at that time. So yeah, just to be able to focus on something else like cooking, it does relax me. Yeah. Other than Netflix or whatever.
But it's a creative process.
Yeah, exactly.
Productive and.
But you've turned it from a personal thing into something very open, a recipe platform that is open to everyone, just giving away freely. Yeah. Why did you decide to do that?
Well, I post a lot on social media, as quite a few of my friends know. And they got either tired of it, not knowing how to make it, and it hopefully looking good, or they just wanted to make it, and they just started asking for the recipe. And as a friend of mine just suggested, why don't you just why don't you just post them all and just publish them online? And this is not something that I want Well, I mean, if I could make a living out of it, that's maybe for the future. But I mean, it really isn't something that I want to think about in those kind of like terms, because it is my hobby, and when it becomes work, it doesn't add up anymore.
Yeah, you lose all the enjoyment, don't you?
Yeah.
The pleasure goes out of it. But it's a really nice, simple platform. The idea is, I mean, you're on so many social medias, and you're on Instagram as well. But the main thing it focuses a Facebook page, and then you've got the way you do it is by albums, and then you click on the photos and you see the recipe. And I think that's just so nice.
So simple, but really accessible. Yeah. And actually, the dishes that you do are also, I really, they're not over the top. They're just, they're from all around the world, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Basically what I do is I cook what I want to eat, and that's usually not that complicated. And if it's really complicated, it's not something that I want to do at home. You know, I mean, sometimes if it's elaborate, like Christmas or something, you take your time. But in the end, it's my dinner or my lunch. Yeah, and it's not something that has to be. I mean, sometimes it is difficult, but usually it's not.
Yeah. No, I really loved how accessible they were, and how, it made you feel like you can just try any of them if there's a cuisine that you're not super confident in or comfortable, because you haven't tried that technique before. But these are kind of good, straightforward recipes. The list of ingredients isn't over long or difficult to find. The methods are pretty straightforward. So,
listeners, you will. I don't think there's a cuisine that's not represented. Middle Eastern, Chinese, Dutch, quite a lot of Dutch, which is great, very useful for me if I want to replicate a Dutch recipe. That's great.
Well, it's not very difficult, Dutch. No, it's not. It's just but I love Dutch. The thing is that I grew up here, so I am Dutch. So there's a lot of Dutch stuff. But I mean, my background, my heritage is Chinese, Indonesian. So there's a lot of Indonesian stuff. And a lot of Chinese stuff as well.
You go with like Argentinian, I don't know, probably like Bulgarian, everything. It's
lots
so
of American.
broad.
Really good. So I imagine, because you've obviously been around with the travel and the work, I just wondered, do you have a particular favourite type of cuisine, or do you deep dive into a cuisine, or are you sort of chopping around? It
really is kind of like what sounds nice, or what have I had in a restaurant, or what did I see on TV that I want to do myself. So I would say, like, from a background point of view, yes, Dutch and Chinese and Indonesian or Asian flavors are definitely what I gravitate to, but not really, because as you said, I do like a taco.
I do like a taco.
or something like that, or anything, like I love British food, so I do a lot of that as well.
It's lucky if you've just been on tour in the UK, but no, we're doing all right with that.
Have you always loved food, or is it something in terms of cooking and preparation, or is it something that's come to you and fitted into your lifestyle?
Well, I did grow up as my parents had restaurants in the past, and later on an Asian store, like Asian ingredients food shop at Hoofddorp Line, which is still there, which is my brother's. Plug it a bit, Kokkies Cooking, which is great. I used to work there, so I did grow up with a lot of food around me when but I didn't necessarily cook with my mom back then, or dad, or the chefs. Well, my mom cooked the most in the house. Like the love for food was always there. I did grow up with kind of like always everything being about food. Everything was discussed during dinner, and everything was always about food. So when later on in life, that still lingered, and you want to either recreate stuff from your past, or you want to eat well. As I said, ready meals only go as far as they can go. So you start cooking, and I think everybody in my family, like my siblings, we all cooked. Like my brother is now the owner of that Asian food store. I do this cooking thing, like we all we do all kind of
very much in the family.
Yeah, and I guess the temptation is, you can cook well, your family own a restaurant, and you've lived outside of the Netherlands and Amsterdam for a while on tour. So we were talking, and you're saying, well, actually, now that lockdown is finishing and all the restaurants are kind of slowly opening up with social distancing, where will you go? And Kok-Hwa is like, well, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. Like, where would I go?
I wouldn't know. No, exactly.
Well,
what's your tip, Gilly?
Well, a very broad. I mean, it's not a huge insight, but obviously we've got the fine weather, and the terraces are being extended around Amsterdam so that they can accommodate a few extra guests and things. So definitely want to aim for a terrace straight away.
Yeah. One of the barbecue places like Bry, they've got the kind of hut by the end of Vondel Park, so you can sit outside.
Yes.
Pendergast is a really good barbecue place. I really like that. I think that's by the Vesta Park. So maybe you could get some and then take away or something. Yeah. I think you'll like them.
They sound great. I actually know the people from Bry. Great stuff. Great. And I do love a bit of a barbecue / Bry, which is...
It just lends itself so much to the summer. These sunshine days. Peak summer we're hitting now, aren't we, this week or the next couple of weeks?
But listeners, we've been trying out... Well, Gilly has been trying out Kok-Hwa's recipes.
Yeah.
Which one did you pick?
So I did a chicken and serrini, which I didn't know this, and I learnt it's crab sticks with rice noodles. And I did it for the family. They loved it. Small confession, they're not so much into seafood, so I just switched that out and used cashews, which is not exactly a close comparison in flavour.
That's fine. No, it's kind of like, that's what I do. That's what I advise people to do. If you don't like a certain thing, these are not like Bibles, like you can change stuff. And if you're allergic to peanuts in this case, you added them, you can actually, and if it's in the recipe, you can omit it. Sometimes it wouldn't work, but I get a lot of questions asking like, is that chili really necessary, for people who are a bit squeamish or
not
scared of heat. Not squeamish, that's a weird. And then you just go like, well, usually you can just omit it. It's kind of like, can you make it? I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. I do try to, incorporate some recipes, but a lot of times, like if I use a certain protein, you can like replace it with a vegan kind of alternative.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. Nothing is holy in cooking. It's always about your palate and your
interpretation of it. So that was one that came up this week recently on your Facebook feed, and I thought I
made that in because that wasn't my dinner of the evening. I actually made that in Leeds. Yeah, and I have, for me, those pictures are also like a diary.
Yeah.
So that picture, I actually see it. It's on screen. Obviously, you guys at home don't see it, but it's on the screen here. It's like, I had really nice digs in Leeds, and I was like, I made that in Leeds. Yeah.
That's true. Food and memories are absolutely intertwined, aren't they? Yeah, that's great.
I picked out one, the aubergine dish. Now, how do I describe it? I've got to get open on my phone now. I haven't done it yet, but it's a way of using black beans, because I have black beans, but I only ever cook them with them in one way, like chicken with black bean sauce.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, very nice. But the good thing is, on your recipes, there's an aubergine dish that uses black beans. I'm like, that's brilliant. Yeah. So then it's just like, I'm not going to be making the same dish over and over. And the way you do it with the minced meat inside.
Like a stuffed.
It's a stuffed. I mean, that's a stuffed. You don't have to stuff. I mean, you can actually, if it's too much of a bother to stuff them, you can actually have the mince on the side. That's fine too. But I mean, it looks cute when you stuff them.
Yes.
Yeah, looking forward.
It's classic Chinese. That it's very Canton. It's very kind of like Hong Kong.
Oh, Cantonese. Oh yeah, Canton. Is that how you say it?
Well, Cantonese. Yeah. It's a very kind of like Cantonese cuisine dish, like the black bean stuff.
So is that a different? Sorry, I was thinking black beans, and that's when if I do a chili con carne. Are they?
It's different. It's fermented black beans. It's
right.
Like black beans, not the taco ones.
Not the taco ones.
They're not pulses. And they're very strong. So you have to kind of like put them in a bit of hot water first. Is that right? Yeah.
I actually I don't do that because I can't be bothered. it's that kind of thing where you like. I mean, it's the stuff that makes it easier sometimes, that you just go like, if it's too strong for you, obviously rinse them and wash them really well. I actually like it really strong because, why else use it? That's my opinion always. And it just sort of helps me be lazy. So,
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what I love so much about the Kokkies Cooking is I think the sense of just kind of just have a go, or it's not, it doesn't have to be difficult, or
it's not a test.
No, that comes across, I think.
Whenever somebody tells me, I want to try this, I do ask them, if you could, can you send a picture? Because it's just nice. It's really flattering that somebody. I love the fact that you tried my recipe and liked it, and it's really fascinating because I just want to share this, and it's really nice that people have a good kind of like rapport and people actually like it. So it's just great. And
so there you are, Amsterdam. You can't look a gift horse in the mouth. It's like all these lovely recipes, but also it's just I recommend your Instagram, Kokkies Cooking.
Yeah, that has the most followers actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Go for it.
But the actual recipes are on the Facebook platform, facebook.com/Kokkies Cooking. We've got links to that on our post after the show. But also, I do like your personal Instagram because so it's separate from the Kokkies Cooking, which is Kok-Hwa Lie, because you post photos of the food, but you're always there smiling, presenting the dish in a really beautiful way, and it just has such joy.
Yes.
Well, mind you, it's another. I just love posting, I suppose, and right now I'm not on tour. I'm at home, so the only thing that's actually exciting during a day or in a day
gives you a focus.
Is the food. So I can take a picture of me getting out of coming out of the shower, I suppose, but that's never as enticing. So the food is definitely right now. It's kind of like it's social. It's a social media,
a way of connecting.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But I'd say to the listeners, it's worth following all of those accounts.
Yes.
But beware that the Kok-Hwa Lie probably in time when you get back to work, you'll be lots of photographs of you in costume and all sorts
famous
of
people,
other things. Yeah.
No, there are no famous people in my life.
We did the reading with the famous director. What's his name?
I can't remember his name actually.
Yes, he was the director of the Michael Jackson video. Vincent
Patterson. Yeah. If you know the Beat It video and the two guys that go into like this knife fight, he's the white guy of the night. Just some trivia.
But he also choreographed it, so he's really big.
Oh yeah. He worked with everyone. He worked with Michael Jackson. He did Madonna, and
Wow.
he's a really he's a superstar.
So okay, let's just digress from food briefly.
Yes.
So how did you get into acting? Was that always something in you from childhood, or was it sort of?
No, not at all. This is well, in the end, I can say now that it's what I always wanted to do, but I wasn't kind of like encouraged to go into that kind of like direction career-wise. So I was just very lucky that the high school I went to was really quite culturally inclined, and I got in touch with people who were in theatre, like youth theatre group. I rolled into that coincidentally, and rolled into my first professional production, through that. So it's all very. I didn't go to school for it, which I advise. It's not my road to where I am now doesn't exist anymore, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I would always advise everybody to go to school, drama school or whatever. It's just a very hard job, and you need as much kind of like background and as much like baggage and luggage you can get from school.
Yeah.
To be able to understand what you're doing
and to keep it kind of sustainable in a way, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I had to learn everything on on stage basically, which is not the greatest sometimes.
Yeah,
I can tell you that's a whole thing. That's a whole nother episode.
Conversation for another show, perhaps. So, sorry, I've got just one last question, if I can.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned earlier that maybe you would make a career out of the cooking side of things, and I just wondered if that were possible, what form would it take? I
would really like to present kind of like cooking videos and stuff. Actually, I could have done it during the lockdown, but it's kind of like it's kind of like how do you put yourself to do it, but yeah, I mean, I would love to do stuff like that. I would love to share my recipes in that way. I would love to write like a book, but I mean, books aren't very viable, so you have to go online. So this is all like stuff that I do think about. But but I don't want to think about it in the terms that that I want to make a career out of it, because it does take away from it being my outlet.
Yes.
Kind of it.
Yeah, understood.
I'm thinking TikTok, Kok-Hwa.
Oh, I've just started on TikTok. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. But yes, I am on TikTok as well.
Too short and sweet. Keep it simple and then see that goes.
Yeah.
I think so. Well, look out, everyone, for that. But there's already a lot online on facebook.com, Kokkies Cooking, all the recipes. Enjoy that. And you heard it from us first and from Kok-Hwa. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Amsterdam Kitchen. Join us live on Saturday mornings
From 10 till 12.
on Broadcast Amsterdam.
We'll catch up later.
It's all online.
Broadcast Amsterdam, your local radio station, 24/7 and on demand. Or on broadcastamsterdam.nl.